मैडम नमस्कार. किरणांगरा मैडम नमस्कार.
Namaskar, sir.
Madam, please start.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Learners have come. Okay. So, good evening to all of you. Uh, yes. MS 134, right? इनके पेपर का कंटेंट सुनाएंगे आप हमें. ये लगा देंगे बेटे जरा. हाँ, लगा दें. मुझे इसका क्वेश्चन पेपर पढ़ा जरा. कहाँ पे है जी? आपने किधर किया है ऑन? एक मिनट, जस्ट अ मिनट. नहीं जी, शुरू से यूनिट से. नेक्स्ट Dear students, I'll be taking with you MES 134. This is we will be taking this course with this subject with you of the postgraduate diploma in education technology. Yes. Now in this MES 134, we have 3 blocks. The first block is focused on the instructional design. Basics of designing courseware is the first block, which has 2 units, instructional design and basics of courseware design. And the second, we have the second block, which has development of courseware. Development of courseware is the main head. How the development of courseware by print media, then the next unit, audio media, and then in the video medium, and then reusable learning objects. In the third block, we will be going through the courseware delivery and the management. So that unit will have block will have 2 units, units 7 and 8. It's a courseware delivery, management of courseware development, and archival. We are very much acquainted with it, we understand it. So how we go about it? So before I take up this MES 134, all of you must know what sort of the examination you are going to take. So this examination will have basically what he's saying, light wala. Okay. This question paper, the examination will have 4 questions, each of 600 marks, 600 words, and all of them carry the equal marks. So it is 70% is the maximum weightage for this paper. And you will have to attempt all the 4 questions, and all the 4 questions are subjective. You have to go for 600 words. There will be internal choices in it, and you can go through that. So this will be the concept of the question examination which you will be going to take. So let's now first start with the basics of designing courseware. This is the first unit, as I have already told you. In this, we have instructional design is the first unit. We have 2 units in this block. So I will try to take up both the units today, unit 1 as well as unit 2. Although they are a bit lengthy, but let us see how much we can cover. So unit 1, instructional design. The main objectives of this is that it will help you to understand the concept of instructional design, importance of I will talk instructional design as ID. It's a short form which being used in your courseware also. Importance of ID, models of ID, and discuss the concept of learning design. So let's start with the process of, first of all, we have to learn the process of learning. So we all know what is learning. How do we learn? What facilitates learning? Can we learn on its own? So for these questions, you have to design the instructions for helping learner to learn. So learning has been explained, because for what the instruction has to be there, for what we have to design the instructions. The thing is that we want to design the instructions because our learner wants to learn. So learning is the main underlying fact which we have to understand. So I like to share with you, there are four major approaches to the learning. And these four major approaches are behaviorism, cognitism, constructivism, and connectionism. So the first of all, let's discuss the first three, which are very well known. So first of all is the behaviorism. According to the behaviorist theories, the people, behaviorist means the people who believe that behaviorism behaviorism is the fundamental thing or the underlying thing to understand this concept. So according to these, the learning results in a perceptible and long lasting change in behavior. So learning, the learner can respond in a new way and is considered as a new behavior. In behavior, this changes involves the capacity to respond to a stimulus. Means, for example, if it is in the morning and I say always that we have to wish good morning. So whenever we'll meet each other in the morning, the morning sun becomes is a stimulus, and the response is good morning. So this is the behavior change. So uh, you can understand that if today is a hot day, if there is very hot and you have to switch on the fan, this stimulus you have learned. There is a stimulus of the hot weather, and the response is we switch on the fan. So, learning thus involves the association of your stimulus and the response, leading to a new behavior. So, it is a what we can it is not always very simple. It can be a complex activities. It can involve a chain of activities that, for example, if we drive a car, and while driving a car, we have learned to observe, we have learned to observe the traffic rules, which involves stopping, which involves if there is a red light, there is a stop. If there is a green light, you have to start. So if you're a yellow light, you have to get ready for it. So in addition to one thing, that you have performing number of actions in a chain after seeing the stimulus. So I hope it is, you can understand, it is not only a simple response to stimulus to response, but it is a complex chain of complex activities. You all have studied, I hope you must have seen in MS 032. If you have you have learned the theories of learning, the scientist Thorndike has given an example of a cat, where the cat jumps out to take her food. So it involves trial and error concept. So by chance, so he says that Thorndike says the learning is by trial and chance. For example, opening a lock, you may try and you have a bunch of keys. You will try one, two, three. Ultimately, you will reach to the conclusion that this is the right key to open the lock. So it means the patience and the practice. They strengthen the stimulus and response connection, and helps you to learn to identify the right key. If I take you back again, it is a Pavlov experiment on the dog. You understand that it involves a connection between S and R, that is of the conditioning. So this is hence the light example which I have given you, the light turning red and the instruction to stop is a stimulus event with a minimum time gap. So, according to Skinner, another theory you have read of the learning is the Skinner given by Skinner. A right response is left when it is reinforced. So, for example, if a new driver is appreciated that he has to stop at the red light and he stops, we just appreciate him for responding to the red light. The next time he will surely stop. He will learn it will because it is reinforced. Suppose if a student comes at a right time in a school, he observes the punctuality and we give him an award. So this reinforcement of appreciation in this way can enhance the learning, can enhance to get high scores, good grades. So this is the concept of the Skinner. So behaviorism basically is led to the teacher centered methods of teaching, and the teacher is active and is delivering lectures while learners learn passively by receiving the information what the teachers provide. So this is the concept of the behaviorism. Let's understand cognitivists. Believe means people who believe in the learning by cognitivism. They say that human beings have the capacity for cognition. Cognition means what? Thinking. They have a brain. They have the power of thinking. Hence, learning is not just a mechanical, what they believe, that learning is not just a mechanical response of the stimulus and response which happens by chance, or a response which happens by conditioning and gets strengthened through practice and reinforcement. Learning is therefore not merely a behavioral change, but it is a mental process. I hope you people understand the behavior people, they just talk of practice, trial and error, reinforcement. They say these are maybe important, but they are not, it is not only the mechanical system, but basically it is a mental process involving information processing. Something learnt is therefore something which is meaningful to us. Trial and error is an example given of the size of the keys in the bunch. So the person can think that this size of the key, if he decides that this is the size of this is the name written on the lock, and the key corresponding to that lock is the right key. That means he has involved his cognition power and the key. So hence it is not always that you will keep on trial and error, but you can just decide by using your cognition and information processing. So as cognition involves information processing, cognitivists focus on how information is received, organized, stored, and whenever it is required it is retrieved. For example, I give you a very small example. We all should understand we have a small, we have a short-term memory and a long-term memory. For example, somebody gives us a telephone number.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Any one of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Khushbu, yes. Can you give me some other factors? I have given the first factor, gaining attention.
Ma'am, actually, your voice was not audible. You started cognitivism, and I lost your voice there itself.
So you should have come forward and asked me.
I said, I also dropped a message that your voice is not audible.
Is it so? I couldn't
Yes,
see.
ma'am.
I was seeing the slides, so I could not see that. Chat with it.
Actually, I unmuted myself and I also said that your voice is not audible. Then I don't know. There was no voice.
Oh, so from where the linkage is there? Who is it, with you or with everyone, please?
Sorry, ma'am. I did not understand.
It is only you or other learners are also feeling the same? May I have some
I
response from others too?
I think
और भी
there
बताया है कि
was.
आवाज chat में, आपको chat message आ रहा है। Right. आप और कोई लर्नर है क्या अभी?
Ma'am, एक और learner थी. I think she left now.
अच्छा. So you are
I can't
alone.
see. Yes, ma'am. I can't see anyone else.
Yes, this is what I'm thinking. Acha, okay, I'll take it. I'll discuss again with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Where I stopped, ma'am? Where could not
Ma'am, you had
understand?
just started cognitivism and you were saying that it is it is related to cognition and thinking. That's it.
Okay, so you must have seen it. This also देखना पड़ेगा chat box. So, beta, what is this cognitism? Says the human being have the capacity to. I have told you the. Now it's my voice is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just told you that they believe that it is not a mechanical association of stimulus and response, or it happens by chance or by conditioning. It also gets strengthened through the practice, or not only by the practice and reinforcement. Learning is not only a behavioral change, but it is the mental process involving information processing. Right? Khushbu, I am audible
Yes,
to
ma'am.
you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They gave the example, like earlier they have given the example in behaviorism that they have given there as a bunch of the keys, by trial and error they open the lock. While cognitive says that they will see the lock name, they will see the key name, or they will just see the size of the keys. They will differentiate, because if the information is useful to them, they'll understand, and they don't need to go for trial and error. So basically they feel that they will take the information and will inform and involves information processing, and will focus on the information is received, that received information is organized and stored, and so that it can be retrieved whenever there is a need for it. For example, this says the memory is short-term memory as well as long-term memory. So in short-term memory, suppose somebody tells the telephone number and you just dial it, and after dialing you forget it. But if that number has some back linkage, you have some pre-existing memory, you have some pre-existing link, you can retain it for a long time and you can retrieve it whenever it is required. आप इनको train करो, इसका मतलब आप इनको train करो। Chat नहीं आ रहा ना, right? So in this way, this goes to the long-term memory. You just see in call messages. Yeah. So this is LTM, right? So this I was explaining to you that what this cognitivists think, that the pre-existing concepts, which is they call schema, is thus a cognitive structure that accommodates the new information, and its structure is altered while accommodating the new information, and they retrieved whenever they require. Similarly, they like behaviorism. Cognitivism, no doubt, also underlines the need of practice, but not as a mechanical activity, but rather than a mental activity. As activities, as the cognitivists, we construct they feel that we construct the knowledge actively, we not instead of receiving the knowledge. As I told you in behaviorism, the teacher is active, the learner is passive. So, because like children, they receive the books from the teacher and books. We have very much well discussed the example. Cactus is a plant which is xerophytic, which is a desert plant. But we simply say it. We just ask them, see, this is a cactus, and this is the plant which has the student will go for a rote memory. But if we take them to a place and show them and tell them why the cactus have the thorns, and why the leaf of the cactus is so succulent, as there is shortage of water, the student will never forget it is a desert plant. So because they will actively, they will apply their mind and will understand, while if it will not be a simply a rote memory. So these are the things what the cognitive. The third learning approaches is the constructivism. The constructivists say the knowledge is constructed by learner. Please see that my voice is audible, Khushbu.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, like cognitivists, constructivists considered knowledge construction as an active process that uses earlier learning experiences for constructing a new knowledge. You have some experiences of learning experience of your life, and you then construct the knowledge, keeping in view in succession to the already having learning experiences. So, like constructivists also underline the need of cognitive processes like thinking, reflecting on a new information, but they feel that meaning making is a subjective process. This means the learner forms meaning in his or her own way, depending upon the context, their past experiences, their past beliefs, and their values. So, constructivists, they feel that although behaviorists, they feel it is an individualized process, but the social constructivists, they say it is a social process, like discussions with the teachers and the peers, which facilitates learning, and they further help in construction. So, learning by constructivists is being considered to be a social process requiring interactions, especially with those who have more knowledge, especially with their peers, which help them to learn, or by observation in a society. So, constructivists, they put up their views in this form. So I have started probably the factors of what are the factors which impact learning. So this is very important. We are learning everything because ultimate aim is to design instructional material. So instructional material is to be designed. So we have to learn why, how the learning can be easily facilitated. So keeping in view this point, we are learning what are the factors which impact the learning. So we have read the approaches. Now how you can enhance or facilitate the learning. So the first is the gaining attention. I hope you have heard that. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You have heard that. I was asking, can you share what are the other things? What your mind says? What are the other factors which can enhance the learning? Can you give your vision?
According to me, I think maybe the content should be more interesting. Picture representation should be added to the content. In generation of content, I think it should be relevant. Matlab relevant. It should not be outdated. It should be
Of
updated to
course,
the
when you are
new.
designing, of course, when you are designing any instructional design, it cannot be an outdated. It has to be authentic. Yes, but here the learner, to make learner interested to learn the material, to learn the process, to go for the learning process. So very important is that uh, it should have a stimulus which should interest them. This is what the behavior is thought of also. Like you must be seeing in your books, some balloons are being made. If the children books are there are certain designs. There are certain uh, structures which really, if they want to go for the alphabet training, they will have some pictures of the apples, or they will have some pictures of the toys and the toffees. Like this, we try to put the things in the instructional material or in the process of learning, certain things which interest them, and so that they could hear it and hence they learn it. uh, Important is, another is contiguity. Sometimes you see the stimulus is there, but there is desired response, if it is not given immediately, the student lose its interest. Suppose we are asking a student what is a purple color, but it is not being shown on the same page or the next page, but is shown after the 4 or 5 pages. The children loses its interest. So it has to be a contiguity. There it is. What the goal? If I am teaching something to you, the goal has to be very, very clear and purposeful, because it guides, that only helps to guide the course development. But if it is your goal is something and the things are not put it in a shape, so the student, the learner loses its interest. So second, I hope it is very important in the learning process, the learner's engagement, because the learning after 55 minutes, as I have told you in MES 032, that that paper, that the maximum attention of a person is just 55 minutes. So if you have to retain the attention of a learner, so it has to be, you have to evolve certain methods, um, or you have to engage the learners, or you have, the teachers will include some discussions, will do certain activities, so that the learner is engaged. And there is another thing which I have covered is interaction. Till you I interact with you, only I speak to you, and I give you, impart you knowledge. After some times you may not retain it. So sometimes we give the collaborative projects some activities, and we give some assignments, so that we can interact with you, and we can ask you some questions, and then so that it can be checked whether the learning is going on or it is hampered somewhere. At the end of, you are the IGNOU students. IGNOU has adopted the method given by an American. So they have adopted that they give you the glossary, the illustrations, the summary, and thus, if you have not understood certain things, You can read the summary. If you have missed something, you can go back and again see what is going on. Another is the practice. All of us, we know the practice strengthens and retain learnings and leads to the perfection. So practice helps to even the rote memory is being retained only if it is practiced. If a song is to be sung or some skill is to be inculcated, of course it needs a practice. All of us, we know it. And rehearsal is the word usually we give whenever we give some impart some skills. So practice come into picture. Feedback, very important is the feedback, the response. Basically, if it is in the form, because in your instructional design, as you are reading in the IGNU, if the answers are correct, you get a reinforcement and you feel it, and it is an indication that the learning is right. And so these sort of feedbacks help to even design the instructional material at the formative stage or summative stage. So these learning helps to reinforce the learning among the learners. So your learning, whenever you can only learn properly because it takes you from the start and takes you to the end. There should be some satisfying learning experience, so that you should be satisfied that whatever has been delivered, yes, it has updated my knowledge and it has correctly make us to travel through the journey of this knowledge, and I could understand how well they have taken. Another thing is that there should be clarity of the content. Clarity of content facilitates the information processing and hence the making the meaning to it. So the content, if it is well organized and the learner can easily navigate through it, and they have not to struggle it, and hence it enhances the learning. So let's now see. Now let me take you to the instructional design. Instructional, because this is the unit name, instructional design. You can see design instructions for learning is an easy meaning of instructional design. So it is really the instructional design is the process of designing instruction. But sometimes we think that instructional design, we take it as a teaching, that how the instructions are being designed. But there is a difference between teaching and instructions, because sometimes we consider them as interchangeable. But according to our Romizos-Whiskey in 1981, instruction is a goal-directed teaching process, which is to a great extent pre-planned. So I hope that this is the how you design the instruction and how much experiences you think. So genesis of anything means what is the history of this instructional design, how the human beings have thought about the feeling that the instructions has to be designed. It goes way back in the Second World War, when the US Army has to train a large number of military personnel. The Division of Visual Aids for War Training of US Office of Education produce hundreds of films and training handbooks for military training programs, because the learners are in huge number. You cannot sit and talk to them individually. So under these circumstances, they have to go for some technology which they used at that time, and the visual teaching aids like motion pictures, silent movies, talkies, manuals, and like were, were carefully selected, framed, and imparted training. The teaching became a planned activity, and inputs are provided as per the plan for attaining what? Predetermined goals. Our goal is to win. So our goal is finally set, it is already set up. Our activities are planned to achieve our goal. So it is, there are another scientist in 1926. They says that teaching machine has imparted individualized instruction, assessed learning through multiple choice questions, and provided feedback. So in it has, US has no doubt taken, but in 1930, a systematic planning of instructions were decided. Same as in 1940, there was a rapid development of instructional media for military training programs. So it is basically the genesis, means why they came, why they were born, why the concept came into the mind of human beings, because the training is training as many learners as possible within a short period of time, and it is using the most efficient available instructional means. At that time, there were written instructions, demonstration films, as well as practical exercises. So the object of imparting instruction are relevant even today, and instruction imparted through print, website, video, audio, we all know that, and is used for teaching many learners within a short time. You people have seen during the COVID period. So Genesis shows that it is US Army as well as at different places in 1920, 1926, 1930, 1940. This instructional preparing of external material is already being taken up or already exists. So this way, I hope the system of question help. So you can see in the diagram, there is first analysis of the learner's needs.
Ma'am, the diagram slide is not visible.
Okay, please show it. Let's see. Okay, you just understand.
Yes, it is visible now, ma'am.
Okay. So you are seeing now. What is this approach says? There is some problem in the light going on at this place, so it is a bit hindering. My voice is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So it is always that genesis, why it has happened. We analyze the need of the learners. We get the, after needing, we give some inputs. And after the inputs, we give some outputs. And outputs, we try to assess through the assessments. Then they give us the feedback. And again, it becomes an input. Again, we try to construct the material. This is the way an approach was given. Why in the genesis, why this systems, this how it basically works, and how these instructional materials. Now, question now here, they try to answer how to design an instructions. I have just discussed with you the goal, objectives are determined, and instructions, courseware are subsequent. First of all, what are our goals? What are our objectives? We have to determine them, and then Right? So, first of all, we try to set our goals, set our objectives, what we want to deliver, and then the courseware, what instructions we want to give in the courseware. So, to achieve these goals, the things are being designed. The learning has basically three domains. One is cognitive, which involves thinking. Second is affective. Learning involves feeling and respect. And third is psychometer, which involves the coordination of thought and physical movement. Like, for I would like to see. Yes, I can give you an example for a psychometry example. That suppose a carpenter has to learn the use of an instrument, or a doctor has to administer the injection. So we have to train them. We have to give them, understand first our goal is this. Now our input is to instruction should be put in such a way that it involves a step-by-step treatment, and hence will make him understand that how to use this instrument. So the courseware will have to be developed in that view. There is a scientist gang who says for these three domains of learning, he described five capabilities that learning should develop. That learning should they are intellectual skills. Ability to means intellectual skills means they should use to for the solving of any problems, understanding some concepts. Second, he says cognitive strategies, ability to monitor own learning, tracks one own progress, verbal information, being described about something, attitude, monitor skills. So the next scientist thought that these are the main domains of the learning. While I told you earlier, we have thought there are three main domains of learning, and they were cognitive. Anyone's Kushbu, you please let me know what I told you.
Cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains.
Correct. So, motor skills, he also says that he says intellectual, cognitive, verbal, attitude, motor skills. So, he focused on this. So, after setting your instructional goals, the first we have to decide what we have to deliver. Then the next step is to design instructions for attaining the goal. So these instructional events and the corresponding learning processes provide a journal framework along which you can design instructions. For example, how you can design the instructions. I have given you gain attention because they are the important parameters as I discussed at the back. Your techniques like answering questions to arouse curiosity, and even that creates interest in topic and for drawing your learner's attention. So it means for gain of attention. Then second is inform learners the objective to make them interested in the topic. एक item change करा
Ma'am, your voice is not audible again.
I hold you for some time. ठीक है?
Okay, ma'am.
ये रख ले बेटे पानी. Yes, now which जो हमारे impact factors थे वही हमारे while designing the instructions we should take care of them. It should gain attention. Their objectives are to be very clear. Stimulus, the prior learning experience should be we should try to link them up. There should be the content has to be in the meaningful way. It should clearly help in learning guidance. It should give you the learning guidance, like they should have a glossary, use some words. If there are some cues, there should be summary. The activities, there should be scope for the activities to be performed. There should be a feedback from the learner's performance. So plus you should be able to assess the performance by checking that learning outcomes are being attained or not. They can be in the form of objectives, assignments, tests, and so on. It should help in the enhanced retention and transfer of learning. So, by providing the cues and strategy of retrieval of the learning, so these are the various these are the various things we should always keep it in mind while designing any instructional material. So in the Commonwealth of Learning in 2005 have suggested certain steps for the details of the instructional planning, and they said that before planning the instructional you should go for a planning. For this they gave us some tasks. First is they say that there should the need analysis should be there. They also call need survey to determine the learner's characteristics, especially the learning needs. Similarly, there should be some setting of the instructional goals that state learning outcomes very clearly. Learning will be assessed at the end of the course, during the course, as well as during the course. And this is the task analysis has to be done. Decide the types of activity learner must carry for achieving the desired learning outcomes. Identify the graphics needed. Plan self-assessment exercises. This is the way. These are the things that this Commonwealth of Learning, they suggested this should be done. And the fifth, they say they should develop the content into units, test and evaluate the materials, take account of the evaluation results, and revise the plan. So these are the various steps which was being decided by Commonwealth Learning in 2005. This is the steps of developing of ID. You have, I hope by this diagram is very clear. They say there has to be first need analysis, as I just told you. Then only the instructional goals should be delivered. Task for analysis means you people instructional goals, they are linked with the plane in achieving the in framing the instructional material. So, so uh, you can now see the instructional design. If we see in the nutshell, that it should not be, it is not necessary that it should be based on one particular approach to learning. There have been three approaches: behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism. But it should, this approach is e-collective approach and include elements of learning approaches. It should not be on one. As per Commonwealth 2005, they have given that they have classified the instructional design where the abbreviation ID is being used. You are looking into the slides, into three types. That's, this is the ID is classified tell and test. Evaluate here, how they explain is the explanation are followed by the test for assessing understanding. They are being followed by the test and by for assessing their knowledge. Thus, this has a behavioristic approach as learners are expected to respond in a fixed way and are taught to respond accordingly. Because you have seen that behavior say there is a, you have been taught, there is a, now it has become a stimulus, and after that now you have to give a response. Question देना है, ऐसे बचता है. Tutorial is the, they have given you the first, which is based on the behavioristic part approach. Then they say tutorials. The instructional inputs are followed by an activity that just not just test but further understanding. The tutorial supports cognition and hence a cognitivistic approach. Because they say that we have given you some instruction, now we will ask you to do some activity which has not been taught, but that activity involves your brain, your thinking, your interpretation. So this becomes a cognitivistic approach. Reflective action guides. Instructions have an essentially constructive approach, and the instructional materials aims to support learning by encouraging the use of one's own experience. If I take an example, a teacher may be asked to recall her experience of managing her classrooms, reflect on it, discuss it with peers. So here, this is that they will just sit here together, will have some talk to the peers, and thus it includes a collaborative projects. If you have to reflect on the instructional design which has been created, the task will require the discussions among the learners and the instructors, writing reflective journals and like that. So problem based learning is a variation of the reflective action guide method. So this is what is thought about of the Commonwealth of learning. So these are the Commonwealth has classified in this way in ABC, which involves all the three approaches. Now the question comes, what are the benefits of designing the instructions? This ID, actually, why we think of designing it? Yes, Khushbu, you can, and there are more people here now. Can you please discuss? Can you tell me your thought of designing the instructions?
Ma'am, the first thing that I can understand is designing instruction is important because the material or the content it will be well organized so that we
Yes.
know what should be taught first and what should come later. Uh,
Yes.
uh, second thing also that it should be, if we design instruction, if we design instruction, so we will know for which level what should be taught, so that we don't teach
Yes,
something.
yes, yes. Very nice. Very nice. Anyone else? If somebody is there in the class, some other learner? Okay. Let me take you. You have correctly said the ID aims to facilitate learning. So with ID, teaching becomes very planned and goal-oriented process, and hence remains the focused and keeps the learning focused. This is, you have rightly said these things. So it is basically, what is ID? It is a systematic development of instructional uh, specification, and it will ensure the quality of instructions because it is a planned thing. What technology we have to use, how we have to deliver, what should we think while delivering this. So it will ensure the quality of instruction. By moreover, by requiring assessment of learning outcomes, ID will bring the accountability of both the whether the instruction material is properly designed or the teacher has not properly explained it. So it will give you the accountability also. The teacher as well as the institution which is teaching a course are accountable for the goal set, the input selected, and delivery of instruction as well as learning outcomes. So designing is, that's why there is a benefit of designing the instruction. You can traditionally there has been a close association between the use of media for imparting instructions and ID. So while when we decide this, when we plan this instructional designing, we start planning that what technologies which I have just discussed will be used, which media will be used. Will it be a print media, audio media, video media, or a combination of this? So the ID thus helps to plan the technology to be used, when and how to use it for teaching and learning. So while using ICT in teaching and learning process, ID is very, very important. And you all know ICT can be used for all the approaches to learning, necessarily not for all, because for behaviorism, like repeatedly pronouncing words and getting the feedback. If it is simulations, using IT requires thinking and decision making. You understand simulation, we create the situation, we make to feel. Even in many of your like in universal studios, or sometimes you may not be you may not be swinging, but they make you to swing over the deserts, over the mountains. That really creates a power of imagination, a power of thinking, power of decision making. So, knowledge construction through collaborative work, like many editors editing a document, participation in online discussion. So, this involves the concept of the constructivism. So, ID has is ICT is used in all these approaches, and this way I have explained. So, what are the different models of instructional design? So there are various models of running, like we understand there are models on which a system works. Similarly, a model is thus a particular way of carrying out a process. And there are various models for designing the instructions. So what are the different models? Some models of the construction of IDR, ADDIE, ADDIE model. ADDIE is basically is an acronym which means later processes of ID, and how we put the AD. A is for analysis. आवाज किसकी आ रही है? लगाइए student. अच्छा, अच्छा, Trishta is here. Trishta Mishra. Mitra. Can I know Trishita Mitra is there? Are you in the class? So let's now start with the AD. As I said, A is for analysis, D is for design, another D is for development, I is for implementation, and E for evaluation. So many models which were prepared was basically on this model. This was considered to be one of the important. If you see the diagram, you have shown the diagram. No, before that, yeah. You see the diagram of Eddy. You have
Ma'am, diagram is not visible.
diagram. I'll show it. Now it's visible.
Yes, ma'am.
It is just you have to analyze it, then you have to design it, then you have to develop it. You can see develop it and then implement it and then evaluate it. After evaluation, if the learning outcomes are as you desired through the instructional design, it's fine. And if it is not, again, it goes. So if I explain you, analysis is a phase where analysis of the needs are being done, learners' needs, interest, age, and prior learnings are examined under the head of the analysis. So instructional goals and objectives are established first, then comes the design phase. Hello, ma'am. Yes, I'm here. Okay, your voice is not clear, Trishta Mishra. She's Mitra. Really nice to see you here. Trishita Mitra. Okay, thank you if you have given the response. So this is what analysis was. Then came the design phase, which I am showing you. Design phase, the instructional interventions are planned. How the learners will learn is decided. What would be taught, in which sequence it will be taught, and using which media it. No, ma'am, please back. Yes. Which media will be used, that will be decided. Media will be planned, subject content is selected and analyzed as per instructional goals and objective during this phase of design. So you can, in other words, I can say the content fulfills a particular objective is selected and organized. And during the next stage of development, learning material is produced, existing ones are used. For example, we try to develop in the units, then the units are interlinked, and then it is developed. Then the content is implemented over a small group, and the content is tested on a small group. We take a feedback, we go for the evaluation. During the evaluation phase, the effectiveness of instruction is assessed in terms of the predefined your instructional objectives, and this keeps the teaching and learning process focused and requires constant monitoring of the outputs and improvement of the inputs through this model. And this evaluation helps you to again go in the same process and to again go in the cycle. But it has some limitations. It does not accommodate diverse learning outcomes as there are fixed goals. So objective pertains to effective domains like developing respect. The outcomes are hard to define and assess. So this is a limitation to this model. Then came the Dick and Carey model. Dick and Carey model. So this model does not treat its component as an isolated parts, but they consider them as a very interrelated parts that influence each other and work as a system. It also considers context and hence takes into account learners' profile, including their previous learning, so that instructions are provided to build upon the prior knowledge. So what this model comprise of following steps. First of all, of course, your goals are to be set up very clear, and we have to first clarify the goals, what the learners is able to do after learning. Then it is instructional analysis, what learner know and must recall and what they must be able to do as determined. Analyze the entry behavior. These are the various, I have shown you the diagram earlier. You must see this diagram. First is the goal. And
Mom, diagram is not visible.
Again, karo.
Now visible.
Yes, ma'am.
काट रहे हैं आप, काट रहे हैं या स्लो, उसको स्लो करना है. My mother is there, madam. कौन है, क्या है नाम? हाँ, मैं करती हूँ. हाँ, ठीक है ना? This diagram is clear. If you see, the instructional goals are bifurcated into two, which I have discussed with this. In this instructional goals, then there is a direct analysis, and then analysis at the entry level. Analysis and analyze the entry behavior of the learners. Profile of the target audience is studied, and their previous knowledge, experience, interest, age, and here not only we see what we have to find out what are their previous knowledge, what is their age, and it is also important their demographic aspects are also examined. So what and characteristics that are directly related to the skill they have to be taught, examined. And for example, if I have to teach them some computer course, I have to see what is their previous knowledge and through which demographic area they are coming, what is the age group. So these are the factors that are analyzed at the entry level. So performance objective, by describing the behavior that learners will exhibit under a given condition and criteria. मैं अब आता है फोन तो उठा. Right, so then we have to write the performance objectives by describing the behavior that learners will exhibit under a given condition and criteria. The learner should be able to divide. Suppose we have to see criterias. There are this criteria is used for evaluating the learner's performance and aligning the learning objectives, how they are performing along with the learning objectives. Develop assessment instruments for testing entry behavior to test what learners know. Already they know what previous knowledge they have. And to the course, tools for the post testing are being decided. The items of practice and the problem solving are developed under this head as per him. And develop instructional strategies that the content to be taught, activities learner will carry out will be planned in this step. Then develop and select instructional material are developed and procured. Design and conduct formative evaluation. This is carried out to the small again to test any concept. We carry out on the small group of learners and the feedback is attained, and identify the areas where the instructional material needs the improvement. It is again revised instructions are being given. Then the summative evaluation means it is then open to the people, and then we take it after teaching the whole instructional material when it is being delivered. After that again the assessment test and summative evaluation is being done. Then there comes a assure model. This model also have the following step. This is an acronym. A stands for analyze the learners. Learners' need and characteristics are examined. S is the state, standards and objectives for the instructions. The learners will able to follow the instruction. Select the strategies. S means another is. U means which technologies are to be utilized while imparting that instructions. They are to be procured, previewed. R is the learner's participations. Require learner participation, which is very, very important. And E is evaluate and revise. It is same as the AD model almost. RCS model is another after that. RCS model describes the strategies for stimulating and sustaining motivation of learning. Here, these are the following steps which are being taken in this model. Attention, which needs to draw the learner's attention first, because the main purpose of its gaining attention. You have to read the strategies, create novelty, stimulate curiosity to the learners through questions, description of problematic situations, and useful for drawing their attention, so that they should retain themselves during the instruction. Relevance, learning experience that are relevant or meaningful to the learner, as Khushbu you have also said, and fulfill their learning needs. Manik Dhar. Okay, Manik, welcome. Fulfill the learning needs, motivate them. So learners,
Ma'am, the current slide is not visible. It is stuck to the Dick and Carry model.
okay, let us see. This is, no, it is RCS model is being shown. Is
No,
it not?
ma'am, Dick and Carry model.
Okay, let me take you again. उसको छोटा ही करना पड़ेगा. Now it's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is RCS model. RCS means A, as I have told you, A means to attention, and R means relevance, and C I was discussing. The C is when the instruction enhance the feeling of confidence and self-efficacy in the learner. The learners are motivated. Therefore, we need to take steps like including content that matches their previous powers of learning. Explain the content well using simple language so that they could have the confidence of learning. Then the next E by S, he means satisfaction. Satisfying outcomes motivate the learners, because when you take some feedback, give them some assessments, so if the answers are correct, they says that satisfying motivates a learner. Intrinsic motivation emerges from accomplishing the task, and the feedback communicating this helps, and hence the task selected for learners therefore should be there, and you should, after seeing their feedback, you should be able to make improvements in the instructional material. Cognitive apprenticeship model is the next model. This model is useful for teaching skills to increase their psychometric domain. It is based on the Albert Bondra's theory of cognitive apprenticeship. As per this theory, a skill is modeled, and the learners need to be attentive, motivated, must have an access to information and retain the information presented, and must be able to accurately reproduce the desired skill. As I told you, it is a psychometric domain. It basically deals with the skill. Suppose dancing, cooking, repairing some machine. So they all involve the skills. So this approach model is based on that. So here The modeling, the steps involved in this model are modeling. Teacher demonstrates the task, that is modeling. Coaching. Teacher assesses learners' performance and provides a feedback and scaffolding when learner performs a task. This is what the cognitive apprenticeship model means. Then he says there is a reflection, self-analysis and assessment of by performance by the learner. Articulation. It is verbalizing outcome of reflection. Like a learner may say that I cannot make the eye movement in the dance of Kathak, as well as my teacher makes while as far as while the teacher is making while imparting the education or showing. So I cannot handle the tool. Ma'am, I cannot handle the tool by understanding what you have explained. So these are means they need some articulations. Exploration. Gradually, the teacher starts lessening the support. That is the sports fade, the support being given by the teacher, it fades and finally it is withdrawn as learners perform on their own. For example, mechanic allows the apprentice to carry out the repair of automobile. Learner at the stage do the things on own, explore strategy for carrying out the activities they have learned, identify their problems in their performance, and so out they try the reasons for their mistake and they try to overcome these one. So these come under the exploration. So these are there are many models, but some of the models which have been described, they have some behaviorist approach. The instructional goals and assessments of learning outcome vis-a-vis the goals are important in these models. Some models take into account learners' prior experience, like they take the entry level test as you have taken in Dickon and Carey. So they Dick and Carey, and so their new learning can become a part of it. So this brings the cognitistic approach. The cognitive apprenticeship model, however, is for the knowledge construction through observation and modeling, especially in a situation where the knowledge is imparted by an expert like a motor repair shop. So knowledge is constructed within a social setting. However, even in this model requires a reflection, means critical thinking, and hence a cognitive approach as well as constructive approach. So, this which model we have to use while designing any instruction, it will depend upon the nature of learner. It will depend upon the learning resources available. It will, when the targeted includes the children, you have to identify the things which can go well with them, like animals, birds, fruits. So you have to identify, or I should say the behaviorist model can be used. For online teaching with discussion forums, a model based on social constructivism should be used. When resources like video conferencing are available for observation and immediate feedback, then some cognitive approach should be apprenticeship, which we have discussed, can be useful. So, or you can combine the different models while designing the instructions. So this way we have discussed the various models and this. By this, I hope the unit is off. Now, any problems in this you should give me, madam. Now, please, any problem, anything?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, in starting when you mentioned the approaches, you had mentioned connectionism also. Can you
Yes,
give
but
little?
basically, your instructional material says that while during this consulting these theories, only the focus is to be given to the three of them. Connectionism is nothing. They says the knowledge of pre-existing knowledge and the another knowledge approach has always to be connected. That will reach or it connect to the people in the different learner group. Fine. Any other issue?
Ma'am, one more thing in the online counseling schedule that was sent on the mail, the subject codes are written as MES 031 032 like that, and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I have
and
taught MES 032. This is
but ma'am,
one of the courses they have asked to impart you is MES 134.
ma'am, it 034 or 134 because both the subjects are like the names are very different, so it is
I
very confusing.
to me it is being given as MES 134.
So ma'am, what is the name of the subject then?
The subject is it is the 1304 is design, development and delivery of courseware.
No, because ma'am, if it is 034, it's written I think computer in education or something.
No, it is not 034, it is 134.
Okay, ma'am. Actually, the schedule that was sent on the mail, they have written course code as 031, 032, 03 like
Yes,
that.
yes,
So,
yes. I have taught earlier MES 032. I know that. They have given this, but now they have given that this is one of the other courses which you have to go through. This is another paper. So this is MES 134 and they say it as design, development and delivery of courseware.
okay,
This is one
thank you, ma'am.
another. You add to that.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Any other problem? Any other issue in there? It's 6:45. So if there is no problem, can I start the basics of the courseware design with all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Although I cannot be able to complete it. But in the meantime, I hold basics of this. This is the first block, second unit, basics of courseware designing. The very important concept in this is that you have to select courseware is developed for teaching a course. What is a courseware? It is for teaching a course and includes content that provides learning experience. So the selection of any learning experience or a courseware, the learner's needs provides the basis. Learners need. So the very important thing is need survey. Need survey is also called need analysis or need assessment. This requires us to determine what the learners want to learn. So, course for teaching children with special needs, we have to work out if we are teaching, because you are not, as I've discussed, you are teaching the adults, you are teaching the students, what sort of the instructional designing you will think of. Same is here. For any experiences, if you have to give, you have to go for need analysis, need survey, or need assessment. So, if we are going to impart our teaching to the children with the special needs, so it may be like in the field of music, repairing some electric gadgets, programming, repairing the electric gadgets, programming, and देना जरा मैं मैडम कह देना जरा मैंने क्लास कहना आप मैडम कहना कि मैम क्लास ले रहे हैं. So it can be programming of computer programming. Then they are offered in response to what is their explicit needs. So the courseware can be offered even when learners do not have some explicit needs, but an organization wants to perceive some, they have seen some skill deficiency in a particular area and they want that employee should perform better, then also they can give you some learning experiences. Moreover, sometimes the new developments in a discipline can also lead to the courseware development. As you know, the things are fading away. Computers have a very small shelf life. New softwares are being developed. They are coming in the market. So it's very important to update. The institution may think that there are some new development in the discipline, though it is not a need of any learner. Though it is the need survey, it will never come out. But even then, the organization can think about and they can go for the courseware development. Social changes some occurs. They can clear the new areas of studies. As you all know, now the artificial intelligence is the new, machine designs are the new concept. Robotics is the new concept. Your surgeries are being conducted by through them. So now the new areas of studies are coming. So you can think of creating the courseware for that. Gender equality, child rights. You are understanding day by day there are new laws which are coming on. So the new courseware, thus the courseware development will be a response to the need of the learning. However, the need survey carried out for ascertaining learning needs expressed by the learners. The basic purpose of the need survey is this. Here, what I can say, while taking the need survey, we take a small group of target group, and during need survey, we try to determine what their learning needs are and proceed towards the determination of who they are. So answers to these questions make us to establish the learning experiences to be provided. Once we establish the target group and have an understanding of the area of course development, we may carry out the assessment of the entry level knowledge. As we have already learned in our previous unit I should say, the Dick and Carey model. They have said that we will try to assess what is the knowledge they are having at the entry level. So you can understand what sort of communication skills they have, what sort of computer skills they have, and then you can think that what we have to plan. The second question comes to while developing in the need survey is a demographic profile of the learner. Demographic information usually comprises of the information about the age, place, the learner stay, gender if they have, access to how much access they have to the technology, whether they are in service or so these sort of information because like age if I say is an indicator of maturity level and hence readiness of learning could be assessed through them. Adult learners usually have some social responsibilities. As per learning is more important for new learning, information about academic qualification, experience in the concerned field is taken under this profile. Having in-service people as learner will imply that they may be experienced but may not have the access to the programs broadcast during their working hours. Further, they may not be able to devote some time to the course. So the course providers mentioned the time. As you people also have seen, the number of hours in a week you have to give them. Learners need to devote to the course. Learners assess to the learning opportunities. They come under this demographic profile. to how they will be delivered. Especially if you see, I said what is the gender. Usually if you see, the women could have a lesser access to the technology than the male learners. So the information about access to learner therefore helps to plan how the instructions will be delivered. So demographic information collected through need survey projects the cultural practices of the target group. So while designing the illustrations, or we portray people wearing local dresses, involve the locally available nutritious food. If the program is on the nutrition, language which the learners will prefer, it will be very convenient for the learner to understand the instruction or the courseware. So the development and the delivery, this demographic profile help us to do that. And then for learning experience, there comes the data collection. If the population of the target group is large, it may not be feasible to contact every learner. In such cases, data is collected from a sample. A sample should ideally be representative of the population, and proper sampling method has to be followed. If the learner number is very high, data can be collected from all those which can wish to enroll themselves in the course. So what are the various tools for the data collection? Usually are the questionnaires, interviews, and the questionnaire useful when the population is large and scattered. Interviews suitable for the small and localized target groups. Data collective can be qualitative, means in numerical form, and has to be but descriptive. It will be analyzed for determining the trends in the data. So this way, the emerging from the trends emerging from the data helps to construct the learner's profile, and the need survey thus helps the instructor to make informed choices about the learning inputs and the way to provide these inputs. So this is the way how the after collecting the learning experiences, need-based surveys, data collections are being collected. The target group, I should take the example of KVS schools, Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, as well as Navodaya Vidyalaya Sangathan. They approached IGNU for providing in-service education to the teacher. The government of different states of India approached IGNU for training the elementary level of teaching of the state. In such case, identifying the target group was easy and determining its need was not difficult. So, and they provided the group, although the group was scattered over the wide geographical area. So, in such cases, it is not easy to determine the needs. So, the MOOCs are developed by the institution on various themes, and learners select a course they wish to study. In such cases, the perception of need for courseware in a particular area leads to the development, and hence the target group and their needs are being taken care of, and these challenges which they are facing, which enhances this thing. So, my dear students, I have taken the part first, and I feel I have some time, I can go further with you. So what are the instructional goals and objectives? So after the need analysis, we can set up the instructional goals. You have that. So the instructional goals are the basis of the instructional designing, and thus they guide the courseware development. Instructional goals, they keep the instruction and the learning focused, as I have already told you, and standards for assessing the learning outcomes. So the goals and objectives are often, I will like to share, what do you understand by goals and objectives? Are they same? Can you tell me, any one of you? Khushbu, Manik, Tishta, can you please tell me what is the difference between a goal and an objective? Usually we
Ma'am, as far as I know, objectives are short term and goals are long term. Objectives are more clearer in what has to be achieved. For example, if we have to finish a particular chapter in particular day, so that is a objective. And goal is something like which is made for a longer duration. I think so.
I should बेटा yes you long नहीं है. हमारा पूरे MES 134 का गोल क्या है? वो एक goal is imply a broader and a generic statement regarding what should be the outcome of this PGDET students, while what are the objectives? They are very specific, because before starting any unit they give you some objectives which will, or no doubt, which will lead to the goal. So they are very specific, are drawn for to indicate what exactly in this block you have to do, right? So according to the Commonwealth of Learning, what objectives helps the teacher? Objectives that help the teacher. There are objectives which helps to learner, objective which helps the manager. So these are the objectives according to the Commonwealth Learning 2005. So for objectives that helps teacher to, ये क्या objectives हैं? Clarify educational intention to the learner. Provide suitable educational experience through selection and organization of appropriate instructional inputs. Decide most appropriate media for imparting instruction. How you will impart it. Develop appropriate instructional technology. What sort of activities? What sort of component load? What sort of assessment plans? Assess how you can get the learning outputs. Keep the teaching and learning very focused, no hither and thither. So carry out the program evaluation and revision. Revision means if the evaluation says the learner has not understood, you have to again revise and make it clear to the learners. What are the objectives? How the objectives help learner to know what would be covered in the unit and what is expected from them. Keep learning focused. Prepare for the challenges ahead and standard to be attained, because they will clearly explain what the learning outcomes they are expecting. Carry out their self-assessment, because there is some assessment activities are being there, feedbacks are there. Prepare for assessment. All the IGNOU students are giving their assessments, and you all know 30% of weightage is out of that. And what is this? You assess them yourself. Yes, this is a question where I have studied, what I have studied. You answer those questions. And how these objectives help the manager to build accountability by assessing whether the teachers have designed instructions effectively. Assess whether adequate resources and support are available for that courseware. So these are the this is given that how to state and goal. Let us then example is being given for you people only, PG Diploma in Education Technology program of IGNOU. So the instructional goals, how they help the learners are: comprehend the concept of education technology and context, judiciously select and use of technology for pedagogic and managerial functions. They should be able to develop skills using technologies for individual and collaborative educational practices. It should be helpful to use technology for creating an inclusive learning environment. Integrate technology effectively. design and develop digital resources from various media. So View says that the goal state that the learners are expected to do after instructions, after using the courseware. Goals therefore guide the selection of themes and sub-themes. For PGDET, each theme led to a course and each sub-theme leads to a block. So this way the things happen. So instructional goals provide directions and hence you need to state this clearly and specifically. Goals are most inadequately conveyed by the term. So there are many examples to it. So I hope any problem till this. So I will take up tomorrow how to state instructional objectives, and then further the unit 2. I feel it will be better if you people, if you study yourself and you can ask me, or I can go like this only if you're happy with it. Either you can put questions after reading through the whole course, or I can take you to travel like this unit wise. Are you happy with this system?
Yes, ma'am. The way you want to take, will be happy with this one.
This way you are happy with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I hope I am able to clear all of you the content which I wanted to deliver.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, may I ask a question?
Yeah, always welcome.
Ma'am, what can you give an example of differentiating between this cognitivism and constructivism?
See, whenever cognitivism is whenever some video conferencing is going on, all of you are concentrating, and some after thinking they just finalize some what you say, some formulation of some plan, while sitting together with the collaborative along with the peers, discussing each other and then coming to a conclusion. This is a second approach of learning. This is not an individualistic approach. Constructivism is a collaborative approach. It is a social, you are being in a social group and together you take a decision. While in cognitive, this is personal thinking of a person. The person is active. Though in constructivism, the person is again active. In behaviorism, the person is inactive. So, but that is something individualistic approach, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you to all of you. We'll meet again tomorrow.
Thank you,
I have
ma'am.
classes on 30th, 1st and 2nd.
Thank you, ma'am.
Today is over. We have another 2 days with us. So thank you to all of you for being with me till end and for your responses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.